esteemed guests and panelists as we host our second series of the Women in Arts Dialogue in celebration of the NAC's Women's Month series. A special thank you to our panelists, Dr. Marlene Leroux, Charlene Mkwepi, Langelihle Mthembu, Roxanne Konko, and of course our facilitator, Ms. Zanele Khumalo, for heeding our call to join the NAC today and share with us their stories and experiences in navigating the arts as a woman. It is a known fact that the gender hardest hit by the COVID pandemic is women. And it's also a known fact that one of the hardest hit industries has been the arts. And with these two factors at play, how do we come together as women to address the scourge? And most importantly, what have we learned and how do we actually grow from it? Our industry contributes almost 80 billion to the national fiscus in terms of GDP and over 1 million jobs. But the funding on an annual basis to the arts is depressingly decreasing. We're honored to have the CEO of Artscape Theatre, Dr. Leroux, amongst our panelists today, and I hope she will be able to share her personal story of resilience and how she, as a leader in the arts, has managed to keep the doors of the theatre open, and how the entity Artscape has supported our artists in the middle of this pandemic. As we share our experiences this afternoon, we should be mindful of the plight of disabled women in the arts, as well as the ever-increasing statistics of women suffering gender-based violence. And may we also seek to identify solutions to positively make a difference to change their livelihoods and their economic situations. These intergenerational dialogues that we're hosting for Women's Month this year is our way of living out loud the African proverb that says, "Indlela ibutwa kulabaphambili," which means there's so much to learn from those that have traveled the same journey. So I'd like to say we're going to have a wonderful afternoon session. And Zanele, I'd like to hand over to you because you are tasked with facilitating today's session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Her Royal Highness. I am so excited about the session this afternoon. There's been so much positive energy and wisdom already. And yeah, for those of us who are joining from last week, welcome. Last week, we talked about sustaining a career in the times of a global pandemic. This week, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on those practical tactics for a more holistic growth strategy in our arts, culture, and heritage sectors. There's so much wisdom in this room, and I'd love to take you through this incredible bunch of women with already incredible and prolific careers. So I'd love to start with Charmaine Shamsa Mokgwebi. She is a Setswana-born storyteller, poet, author, and publisher who travels the world looking for stories to read and write. A woman definitely after my own heart. She has written over 19 books, can you believe it? And has 15 years of experience in creating books which are written in the mother tongue of Free State-based authors. And we'll be talking a little bit about that, focusing on language a little bit later. Charmaine is the founder of Shamsa Literary Club, a home for authors, including first-time published authors who are developing themselves to fully function and adapt in the literary space. She founded Children Festival and Performing Arts School, which caters to 30 children aged 6 to 10 years old. Her passion for children development saw her launch Puppetry Hour at 10 preschools in Bloemfontein. She also discovered 10 book clubs with local secondary schools based in Bloemfontein and Tabanch. Charmaine is an NAC-funded beneficiary. So welcome. Shamsa, if I may call you that. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for hosting me. Thank you for the platform.
Thank you for being here. And up next, we have the formidable current Artscape CEO, Dr. Marlene Leroux, whose passion is simply to use art and culture to empower and enable disadvantaged groups and to make a difference in the lives of human beings. Her qualifications are extensive, so let's just take time to set them all out. She has a Master's of Philosophy in Disability Studies from the UCT, an honorary doctorate in education from CPUT, an honorary doctorate in education from the University of Stellenbosch, a Bachelor of Music and a Bachelor of Education from UWC, and a higher diploma in education from UWC. What a wow. Dr. Leroux has been bestowed with numerous awards, including, but not limited to, the Fair Saturday Award in Spain, June 2019, the Commonwealth's Point of Light Award, which was in February 2018, the Desmond Tutu Legendary Award 2001, and the ShopRite Checkers Woman of the Year in the art category, and that was in 1998. Dr. Leroux sits on numerous boards, including, sorry, we didn't actually include that in the end, so otherwise we'd be here for a very long time. She is a council member of the University of Cape Town and the chairperson of the Afrikaanse Taal en Kultuur Vereniging ATKV. I hope I pronounced that well. She conceptualized and edited the following books: Look at Me, a book on women with disability, and Wellington Cyclopsa. Additionally, she compiled a book called Place in the Sun about the icons of Mitchell's Plain. I'm so looking forward to chatting and having a conversation with you today. So welcome to the panel. Up next, we have Langelihle, Lady Day Mthembu, and she is a food researcher, a music selector, social entrepreneur, and she's currently on a personal journey of mastering every dish presented as a challenge to her. Sounds delicious. Having hosted several private gastronomy-centered food experiences, she believes in creating intimate social spaces using music and food. She pulls her influences from in Johannesburg, Cape Town, as well as KwaZulu-Natal. So welcome, Langelihle. It's lovely to have you here as part of the panel.
Thank you very much.
And last but not least, we have Roxanne Konto, and she is the founder of Infinity, an arts organization that presents innovative visual art ventures and offers arts education in ECD and customized skills development training. She completed her studies at Wits Business School. As a business owner, she developed a real passion for sharing her knowledge and serves on a few advisory boards. Previously, she worked as the marketing manager for the Free State Arts Festival, and with more than a decade in the corporate environment, Roxanne's love for organizing and specialization in sponsorship management grew her tenure at South African Airways. Big things. In 2008, she was headhunted to join the South African Football Association as a commercial manager, reaching a pinnacle in her career during the FIFA Confederations Cup in 2009 and the FIFA World Cup in 2010. And we all remember, I think, how we felt during that year and how special it was. Roxanne's organization, Infinity, was recently funded by the NSC for its interactive pop-up project, Selfie World, and we welcome her here today for this incredible panel. So welcome, everyone. I think if I could just ask the panelists to switch on their mics or to unmute themselves so we can start the questions. Oh, before I forget, I haven't introduced myself. I am Zanele Khumalo, and I'll be facilitating the conversation today. I have enjoyed a career in media and the arts, and have worked on different projects and still do work on those, including Bag Factory, Art Joburg, and Soho House. And as I said last week, one of my huge passions is women empowerment. So this is an absolute privilege to host these kinds of conversations, and particularly to be in the same virtual room as these incredible women. So without further ado, I think, to just kind of warm up, I'd like to talk about maybe some actionable techniques or tactics that you've employed in your own career up to date, And I'd love to ask the lovely Dr. Leroux if she wouldn't, just give us some insights into building her career.
I think very important. Thank you very much, Nelly. Thank you very much, the Honorable Dlamini, for this particular platform, because it's about sharing that we can build each other and to look in the future. Very important as well is to first to look at your skill sets, to realize I started out very young as a singer, but you can't just stay as a singer. I then went on because I come from very poor black background, and I just want to state that I'm very proud to be middle age, being a woman of color, and being a woman with a disability, and being a rural woman. So it has all of this baggage. So at some stage you need to say, okay, where am I going to be at this stage in my life? I'm privileged. I'm privileged for the mere sake I am in a position of work. But where does that come from? It comes from education. First of all, I was one of very few people that could get access to the University of the Western Cape, which was really a building block for me as a person, because it was not just about the curriculum, is to come to understand South Africa, its diversity, the challenges as per se. That's the second thing. The third thing for me was then became a music teacher. Then I realized being a music teacher, because coming from the apartheid era, we never had music and the arts in our schools as a curriculum. I just want to make it very clear here. So that in itself, it's still now linked to now. It is still a challenge, because the arts in its factor is still much elitist, because it's not yet in our disadvantaged schools been seen as a subject as just as important as science and maths. So that was my background as a music teacher. Then outcomes-based education and then I realized that I need to part with the education department. They made my life hell, and I made their life hell, because I wanted music as a subject in every single school. I'm not going to dwell on that. People can read about it. So I was then unemployed because I decided I'm going to do the NGO work. And then luckily I got this post at Artscape. Then I realized, but my skill sets is not applicable only to be a musician and a music, to be able to further my career, to be a manager. I had 2 small babies and a child with cerebral palsy. I decided to enroll myself at the University of Stellenbosch to do a business diploma, because I realized I need to understand the business of the arts. So what I want to say here is that you need to be able, if you want to further your career, you need to be able to be truthful to yourself. So that at the end, you need to, if you apply for the position, you need to say to yourself, I have all the skill sets in order to compete with everybody and to get that particular position. The last thing on this is that I had a lot of obstacles in my way. Obstacles also about just being the mere fact that you're a woman. The mere fact that people are doubting you, that would you be able to run a theater? Would you be able to understand while we actually being brought up in the theater through our churches, through the mere fact just singing in our church choirs, doing our own plays, you understand actually people better. You're understanding, but I just want to put on this panel is that you need to understand your skill sets, and that is where my career started. Thank you.
But I feel that you have an amazing amount of confidence as well, which I think has helped you overcome a lot of your challenges. How do you develop that amazing confidence?
I think it's to listen. You need to have mentors. You need to have very good mentors in life. And I had a lot of gogos in my life. Gogos that on one set that has wisdom, they didn't had the qualifications because of apartheid. They didn't have that qualifications, but they had life wisdom. So they would tell me, just get over yourself. Don't be so sensitive. Do the bloody work. Don't be over analyzing what that person is saying. Prove them wrong. Because now I still have a disability as well. So it was a matter of centered yourself, looking at that. And then also I had mentors where I've listened to that's been through obstacles, that's been through the industry, but also know what they're talking about. I've listened to them. But it was not just about older people, also younger people that would tell me, hello, you have it all wrong. This is the way to go. This is where you need to listen to. This way of dealing with the theater is totally wrong. You need to listen to other voices. So it is a matter of, are you open for criticism? So I want to say the first thing that we need to learn is, and I can only talk about myself, I needed to relearn practices. I needed to relearn not being oversensitive. I needed to relearn that my voice is not the only voice in the universe to be heard. And then I also needed to learn much more about how are we going to be open, listen to criticism, what do you filter in, which is of positive, and what do you need to park to move on? Thank you.
Chamsa, I saw you nodding there. Would you like to talk to us about maybe your mentors and who's helped you in your career so far?
I just want to add to what Marlene has said. I think basically, we must, as an artist, you must have goals and visions where you want to see yourself, especially in the publishing industry where, most authors will, once they start publishing their book, they feel like they've arrived. Now this is the destination. So taking steps into what Marlene has said, beyond being an author, when you look at the industry, you see that there's publishing, there's the business side of selling books. So I've had the opportunity, even though I come from a small town, through networking, meeting the likes of Vonani Villa, he's one of the oldest publishers, small publishers, because in the publishing industry, there's this imbalance of big publishers, we have more resources, and us small independent publishers coming on board. But networking with him, because he started publishing from 1994, and just acknowledging that, as an artist, you're not the first artist on earth. I think that is what is very important. You're not the first artist on earth. There are others before you. So reach to them and connect to them. So, and we learn from the foundation that is already put out there. And, basically commit. We commit each and every morning when we wake up, regardless of the challenges that we meet with our book, we swallow it and we recommit. And every day we said, nobody said it's going to be easy. I think the problem sometimes is that the tactic that works for me is that sometimes when I started out, I thought there'll always be an audience that will applaud, for me and say, hey, you are doing an amazing work. But I think if we just say, nobody said it's going to be easy, but I recommit and I plan, and every day I move forward, definitely that has worked for me.
I absolutely love that. I think that no one said it's going to be easy. We've heard it a number of times. Langerihle, if you wouldn't mind touching on that point and maybe talking about your obstacles, or maybe just someone who was your mentor or has been, or who you would like to be your mentor in your career.
For me, how I even started my journey into food was because I was moving into Cape Town and it was away from a community I knew, which was in Joburg and KwaZulu-Natal. So being in a new town completely, I had to foster some sort of community for myself, and food was my only way, to put people in one room, connect them with each other, but also in the same light, creating a community for myself and people that would encourage me to continue. So I've found mentors through my friends, through artists I've met when I was working in the art industry, and they've pretty much helped me whenever I need advice. They are my soundboard. Whenever I need just someone to taste my food, they are the people that are essentially good at that, and will tell me stuff or even give me like inspiration for further meals. So yeah, because I'm always trying to look for the sense of home. And I think all of us, whenever we feel displaced, we find little ways to make sure that we find that home for us. So I found that through food, and I found that through sharing with people. I found that through music also. So I just told myself, put these things together, and luckily I created a community for myself. So that's how I've pretty much been able to continue in this new career, I guess, because I left the arts in a different capacity, and I've taken this journey of like social entrepreneurship. And yeah, this is where I'm at now.
And for you, Roxanne, those were some lovely thoughts. I really enjoyed, sorry to come back to you, Langelihle, about displacement and how you use food and music and gathering. I think those are really soulful moments. And for you, Roxanne, how have mentors helped you in your career so far?
Well, my background is more your marketing, sponsorship, the corporate element. So art literally chose me, When I relocated to Bloemfontein in 2011, I did not know what it is that I was going to do. I applied for a job thinking I was just going to do marketing, but I did not realize at the time that I'm actually applying for an arts festival because it was just highlighted as Media 24. I'm like, oh my gosh, arts festival. What do I know about the arts? Yes, I can crochet. Yes, I can do all of these artistic things. I can draw and stuff, but I don't consider myself an artist. So what am I doing here? But I focused on, the core, which is marketing. And as the years progressed, I started developing, because I would believe I'm very macro growth minded. I'm innovative. I love thinking out of the box. I love learning new things. And I started attending, festivals, to see how they do things, and I think with the education part, like Marlene said, some of us are fortunate. We can go to universities and we can study. I did not study art, but yet I am very active in the art industry. Why? It's because I chose a different way of learning about the art. It came through mentorship. It came through, having that group of people that would educate me up, leveling up my skills. And that is what I realized is very important for me to succeed in the art industry, because we all know when it comes to the hierarchy, where does the art industry level, people think art is a hobby. They don't consider art a career, yet it is a very important career because it is a great contributor to the GDP. So I was fortunate enough that I had business coaches that I would tap into. I had arts directors that would educate me about the arts. I would attend shows, so I wanted to see how it's done. I would ask artists as they're exhibiting their work, how did you come about doing this? How did you go about pricing your product? How did you go about packaging your product? And that's where I saw, okay, but there is an opportunity for me as Roxanne, because sometimes most of the artists would not know how to go about doing these things. Yeah. And that is why in 2018, I decided, okay, fine, I've done my fair share at the Arts Festival as a marketing manager. I was part of the transformation strategy. I'm happy because I had people cheering me on to say, Roxanne, you can do something different. And that's where I started Infinity. So for 2 years, it was dormant. We did here and there projects and stuff. But then I realized that there's a need for artists to develop, because not everyone would have access to opportunities. I have the network that I can come with to create that opportunity for artists to better and upskill themselves. Because really, I really want to see one day where people look at the art industry and say, you know what, these are creative geniuses, because ultimately that's what the art is about. It's about creative geniuses, and they need to be recognized. And I think the mentorship played a bigger role in my life than actually studying art. Thank you.
Because that's quite a bit of what we wanted to touch on, around whether education, or is it mentorship, or is it networking? Like, what are some of the strongest kind of ways that you can grow your career? But I really love what you said about not being afraid to ask. And I think that also ties into what I was saying about Marlene's confidence. Is that what you share to your mentees, that they mustn't be afraid to ask? How do you energize them and make sure that they feel equipped to go out there and ask those questions?
So Nelia, what is so important is that I'm also part of a Chrysalis Academy, which is for young women to equip them with skills, give them a second chance in life as well. And it is about not being afraid to say out loud that this sets of skills I don't have. Yes. But how am I going to get there? And I think we are living in this instant world of Facebook about that, and we see the lavish lives of people where it's sometimes a fake persona, and we have comments behind the Facebook anonymous, where you just blurt out everything which you feel upset about. But we first need to come centered to yourself. I think that's most important that we need to look at. So one of the skill sets that we are doing with young women, and I'm very hands-on on this, and also at my employee currently at Artscape, is to look at, let's face our demons, for instance, and look at what is the shortfalls that we have. One of the things, for instance, if I look at Artscape in particular, I'm not saying I am the person. I just want to make it very clear. There is such a lot of shortcomings that we still have and that we need to overcome with. But I think women in general, I want to say that, and people can lambaste me for this, has a resilience, because we need just to be resilient. We have no choice, because there are so many people that's depending on us, whether it's the extended family, whether it's your children, whether it's your partner. It's at the end, at this particular stage in our lives in South Africa and Africa, it's us that needs to make that change. So for me, where you are, you need to make the change, and you're going to have the flames on your back. So why am I bringing this in the conversation? When COVID struck, it took me back into my rural days, to that gogos that said, without nothing, you can do something. I was just a little bit depressed. Hello. These are some, hello. I said, hello. We will never close these doors, because if you close, you're not going to open. And I don't want to hog the space. But art is not just for the patron. Art is also for the artists to express themselves to themselves. And hence the fact, the back door of Artscape, we were open for rehearsals. We were open for the dancers to come and dance to keep their bodies fit. We had immediately written the SOPs, the standard operators procedures. We all immediately went into the mode of operations. There was not time for people to think twice because I made it very clear to the Artscape staff. First of all, you need to own up with your privileges, that you have a job. That's number one. Then I went through the company and say, okay, who's going to give time for the underprivileged, which is the artist? And if we come to understand that we are privileged from a point of view, you come to understand what you need to give.
Yes. And on that point, about what you need to give and your privilege, I think we all sit here and we know that men definitely have a big set of advantages over us. They have huge privilege. And we have discussed before that they need to be held accountable in some ways. And I would love to first hear from you, Marlene, and then secondly from you, Roxanne. What can we ask men to do practically to help women in their sectors, their partners, etc.? Some practical advice on how they can help kind of balance this gender disparity.
I just want to say, stop speaking on behalf of us. Women do have a voice. And the second factor is that the policies that is there, if it's pro-women, let's implement it. Because we are in a dominating sector, which is very male-dominating, and that is where we need to turn around this particular sector.
And for you, Roxanne?
You know, I'll be very honest. In football, I was the only female manager because football is also male dominated. We can provide opportunities or suggestions to men to say, allow this and this for women to have an opportunity. But the reality is it necessarily might not even happen. So my urge would be that women who are in position, we need to afford opportunities for women, you know, because in as much, you know, if you look at the NAC, as the councillor said at last week's session, the chairperson is a CEO, is the female, the CEO is a female, I think the CFO is also a female. We need to afford opportunities for fellow females because that's what the men are doing. They are opportunities for men. It just comes naturally, you know. I will tap into my sister before I pick up the phone to call a guy. You get where I'm coming from. So that is the advice I would give. And for women, you know, when we do a call for any opportunity, most of the time you get applications only from guys. And I said, where are the women? Have we become so fearful, you know, or have we become so disheartened to think, why should I bother? Don't stop that mentality. You know, you attract what you believe in. Believe that you are important enough to hold that position. Believe that you are important enough to lead. I mean, look at New Zealand, you know, a female president, woman, where woman is involved. Let's just be very honest. Great things happen. And the moment we as sisters can motivate each other in that element, you know, then we're going to see women rising and men will respect us enough to say when Roxanne walks in, now I need to listen because what she speaks, you know, it carries weight, it changes, it cultivates, it inspires, it motivates. Man, it's a game changer in its whole, in its entirety. So I think it starts with us women to empower each other first. I don't want the guy to empower me. I want you, Zanele, to empower me. Thank you.
And Langelihle, because we are in similar kind of industries, you mentioned that you are a music selector. We know that most of the scene is filled with men. Same with when it comes to food, that we're known as the cooks and they're the chefs. So yeah, how has that been for you?
I mean, there's one of the things I do investigate is gender roles within the kitchen space. So I mean, your mom is not considered a chef, but actually she's made the best meals you've ever eaten in your whole entire life. So it's a weird dynamic that I'm still investigating to see, even as how our parents teach males versus women.
Yes.
Like that gender role in the kitchen, how does that work? So I investigate that as part of my research. But as a music selector, it's it's a very male-dominated industry, and I won't lie, I've encountered a lot of people opening up the boys' club, which has been really interesting for me. But yeah, I think it should be like that. More boys' clubs should open up. Like they should look around the room and see if there isn't a woman amongst them, that means that there isn't any type of diversity. Yeah. That means they are excluding someone within that community. They're missing a certain voice, a certain perspective that they probably haven't even thought about tapping into. There's always this like talk of including people, but actions speak louder than words always. And I think that should be a thing that more men in each industry should start looking at. And yeah.
Go ahead, Marlene.
I think for me also, sorry, Shama, it's when you look at the arts, it's always women singers. We now on a quest, and we're looking at feminism in jazz, for instance. It's very much important to know that the technical side, women must go into the technical aspects of, because that is also where you can make money. And also when it comes to, you can be a drummer, you can be a guitarist. So we need to get out of that mold of just looking at the stereotyping of women in our industry for certain roles. That's important in particular. Also, when we're looking at funding opportunities, I think and I hamper a little bit on the mentorship, but it is so important that there's so few where we at least get sponsorship with mentees and mentors, because in our environment, most of the time the young women don't have the money even for a taxi fare to get out of that particular environment, just to experience a different environment. That in itself, it's beyond just education. It opens up opportunities. But I just want to latch on is that also you need to know your worth, but you can't know your worth if you have not given the opportunities. The holy cows also is that we need to confront also cultural evil practices where we can't just skim around, where we just want to look at it is systemic changes that needs to happen. So it's a societal mindset that we need to change. Who can do it so good? Arts. Because female rappers are, I'm just making an example, are not, and here my media colleagues that's on this platform, trust me, don't get the same media coverage than male rappers. Rest my case.
Very true. I think, Chamsa, because you've written so many books, I wonder what kind of obstacles you face when it comes to these questions around like cultural evil practices and gender stereotypes, and also maybe just, you know, having to knock on the boys' club to say, hello, open up for me. What have been some of your challenges, and what would you like to ask of men in your particular industry?
I would like to ask men to start buying our books. I like to start asking men to read books to our children. You know, whenever you meet with a couple and you sell a book to this family, husband and wife, you are always referred to the wife. You know, whenever there's a reading challenge with a child, we are always referred to the mother. So I want to see a picture where, you know, just closing my eyes, the father is sitting down, the child is on the lap, and the father is reading. You know, when I go to schools, you know, and go to introduce my book, a lot of principals and headmasters are still male. And you know, sometimes when you say I wrote a book, I'm doing storytelling, most of them still don't understand what you're talking about. Whereas where a principal would be a woman, when you go in there, you know, even discussions will go beyond even the book, you know. Furthermore, when we do creative writing classes at school, introducing art, we only go as women. You know, at some instances, teachers will even say, what about our boys? Because the situation where when I go to the classroom, I only work with young girls and we address whatever issue that they have using writing and poetry. And it's a sad picture to see that the young boys are left behind. So I like to ask the males to say, let's join hands, and we have seen what the art has done to us as individuals, and let's join hands, go to school, come with projects, and as female artists go to this room and address the young ones, let males join hands with us. You know, it's like there's a narrative that is written that this is the issues that women have to address, and when a child is brought on earth, it's issues of both genders. As a publisher as well, when I publish authors of males, most of their content, they always write about poetry. And you will never find a male writing about children's books or doing storytelling, you know. And we know the power of storytelling and what it has done. And we need that voice of males. We need them to come in and retaliate and put forth, and it becomes a collaboration. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add on to what Charmaine is saying, I just need to tell you guys this. My husband is the one that reads the books to my son every single night. So there is hope, Shamsa. My husband is Xhosa, you know, and Charmaine, I'm still waiting for the books because I want him to read Xhosa books and Sotho books to the little one, you know, introduce language diversity from that young age. And just to answer the question in terms of the roles, I know I was being mean to the guys a bit earlier, but I think we can just be very strategic as women, because I know within our own networks, we do know men that can make the difference. So we need to utilize the guys to speak to the guys, you know, if, you know, to get the doors open for women, you know, and I think there's hope, Shamsa.
And thank you, Roxanne and ladies, for, I think, you know, adding this voice, because it's very important that we also try and catch the males, not when they're boys and older, but we should catch them actually at a very, very young age. You know, early childhood education, I think one of the ladies here is into early childhood education, to try and be able to actually teach boys how to respect women, young boys how to respect women, so that they know that when they grow up, you know, how should they be addressing women? You know, they should be able to look at women and give women the respect that women actually deserve. I mean, I always get so disheartened in terms of the languaging that's used by rap artists. I mean, Marlene was just making an example that some of the rap artists and the languaging that they use towards, you know, women and how they define us, you almost think, do you not have a mother? Do you not have a sister? Do you not have an aunt? Is it okay? Would you say that to your mother? And for me, this is the arts, right? And, you know, if they are in the arts and they're actually perpetuating this language, or rather this languaging, what is it? Are we missing something around early childhood education in the arts that is able to say to the young boy, do not go in this direction when you are describing or talking about women? I just wanted to add that, Zanele, in terms of your question of what is it that we want to say to males.
No, thank you. That's I hope there are a lot of people that listening and they heed your advice. I think that works in perfectly to a question that I wanted to ask of everyone in terms of achieving a work-life balance, because I think that we probably get asked this question more than men do about juggling life and work. But I would love to chat to Ulangelihle perhaps about how you manage your personal time and your work time, and if gender roles play any kind of a role in that or impacts that in any way, that you would also like to say something about making changes to that.
Fortunately for me, my work and my pleasure is both in one basket, I guess, because when I am by myself thinking about ways to share, it is my personal time. So I do share it within the work capacity also. Yeah. I'm always happy when somebody does give me the opportunity to put it on a platform. So I've managed to work that together very well for myself. In terms of, sorry, what was your second question in regards?
Oh, no, just because we are always asked as women how we manage or how we juggle our work lives. I was just asking, but you've answered it beautifully. I think if I can ask Roxanne, what, because you said your husband reads, so he really assumed what would be called a woman's role, but we know that that's absolutely nonsense. And how do you manage your work-life balance and kind of knocking out those stereotypical roles?
It's a work in progress. I'll just read a quote that I saw somewhere. It just says, the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. What I do is, and I get asked this question a lot, where people ask, but you're always energetic, you're always smiling, you can do everything, you go home, you cook and do whatever. I think the one thing I can say to women is also, you must hold the men in your life accountable for their roles and responsibilities. Those days of saying that the husband's role is to go and attend meetings is way more important than my role to go and attend meetings. Those things need to stop, because in actual fact, just having that proper conversation with your partner, you will actually afford yourself more time and opportunity to do the things that you love. And we've got such a beautiful balance, because in the morning I wake up, get the kid ready for school, he takes the child to school, I can start doing the stuff, because now most of us, we work from home, and most of the time your day will pass and then you say to yourself, but what did I do today? Because I've just been working the whole day, so now you must balance it in such a way where you appoint and assign roles to use your time effectively. So I try to make time for myself. I try to make time to socialize. I try to make time. I don't enjoy gymming, so I'll walk or, do something. And I make time to go on holiday, to spend time with family. And it's just about, trying it daily. Some days you will fail and then you feel like a horrible mother or a horrible employer, but wake up the next day and try again. And that's the fortunate part, is that never giving up spirit. Try again, it will get better and you will understand the system a bit better. And before you know it, you've got a wild engine running.
For sure. I feel like we have so much to talk about. We're running slightly out of time. And I do want to open up the floor so we can have some questions, and I'd also love to give Her Royal Highness an opportunity to ask some of the questions that have been flowing through. So let me hand over to you if you don't mind.
Thank you very much, Zanele. I want to just say to Roxanne that, you know, as a mother and a wife, you know, you are not alone in this guilt trip around the fact that we would be in meetings the whole day. I mean, just take yesterday. Yesterday, I went into a meeting at 2 o'clock and I ended the meeting at 9 p.m. And I have a very, very young baby at home. And actually I have young children. And you know, literally my husband would pop into the study just to say, is everything okay? But it just meant that I actually didn't even have an opportunity to put the kids to sleep, you know? But I always say, you know, sometimes these are the sacrifices. It's just finding that balance to make sure that when you do have the opportunity to be able to spend time with your children, do it intentively, meaning you can't then hang out with the kids but still be on the phone and be on Facebook or social media, and you're then now calling that spending time with your children, because that is not. And also I think, you know, and I'm going to say this as leaders, you know, within the industry, to say, when we've also got women or even men, you know, under us, let's make it okay for them to be able to attend to their family responsibilities. If a woman comes to me or a man comes to me and says, my daughter has a netball match, let them go and watch their daughter, you know, during their match. You know, don't be that individual that then, you know, is counting hours, because anyway, at the end of the day, they won't be there fully present. And they won't be productive because their heart and mind is actually with their child somewhere. So, you know, I think it's just very important for us as leaders to be able to acknowledge that and be able to appreciate the fact that, you know, mothers or sisters or aunts, you know, have also got family responsibilities, and we should openly and very happily allow them to be able to live out their lives. So I wanted to just say, you know, thank you, because it's a very important question that a lot of people just, you know, take for granted. But I think maybe in closing, from my point, because I know you said we're running out of time, I did want to, you know, say, I know a lot of, we've just issued out a call for funding over the last 2 weeks, and there's been, you know, some questions around, you know, some of the requirements that have been, you know, requested by the NAC. And one of those requirements has been to submit financial statements as part of your application. I do want to just inform industry that that requirement has now been removed. So you do not need to submit financial statements when you are submitting your application. This is just one of the amendments. The office, I'm sure management before the end of today will have issued out a statement in terms of this, you know, change, as well as others that, you know, we are trying to implement. And this is just to make sure that we make your lives easier as the artists. We are, you know, very sensitive to the fact that it's COVID. A lot of organizations, first of all, just getting financial statements is an expensive exercise. And already that's, you know, something that we want to make sure that we are very sensitive to. So the council and management has resolved that that is definitely going to be one of the things that's changed. But so please do look out later. I'm sure the marketing team will have issued out something before the end of the day officially. Thank you. Thank you, Zanele. And thank you again to all the panelists.
No, thank you so much for the words and for the updates. I think that's going to encourage a lot more people to apply. So thank you for that. I just wanted to give the opportunity to a couple of participants who left some messages I would love to share. From Beatrice, she said, I think one more way that we can avail ourselves for more opportunities as women is by holding men accountable for their roles as fathers who are also primary caregivers. We have to stop perceiving their jobs and need to be somewhere as far more important than our needs as women to show up to what we want to achieve. And I think we've all kind of said that in one way or another. So it's fantastic to hear that coming through. And then also this, I think, is very important for us to note. We must engage women in art all the time, not only when it's Women's Month, if we are to grow and benefit one another. And that's from Zizipo. And yeah, if I can just ask one more question, because I think there's a lot that we have come through. There's a lot of obstacles that we've overcome. Your words have been so encouraging. And I want to just cast our eyes to the future for a little bit. And I'd love to know maybe something that you're looking forward to in the future in terms of your career, anything that you've seen that excites you and that you're looking forward to. And if I can go round the table, starting with Chamza, something that excites you about the future as a woman in the arts sector. Chamza, if you don't.
I'm looking forward to publishing books. I'm basically looking forward to publishing books about normal community members from my community who have done wonders, you know. Coming from a small town for a very long time, sometimes you feel that you must have heroes from other provinces, and people that you wake up and work side by side with are not our heroes. So I'm currently working on a project to publish authors and stories about people from Free State who have made it, and we can empower ourselves and also share with the community and making sure that they're available in our languages as well.
Oh, we love that. And we're also looking forward to that. That sounds phenomenal. And over to Roxanne.
Oh, was waiting for Roxanne to be mentioned last.
I'm not sure the order you're seeing our faces, so apologies.
No, well, you know, as Infinity, there's a lot of great plans and initiatives that we have in the pipeline, and it's specifically aimed at females, at women, you know. If I look at my organization, it's still very small. I mean, we're still trying to get there, you know, so that is getting me very excited, because I've got big dreams and big visions to where I see Infinity making an impact in the art industry. And predominantly, it's female that operates in our organization. So I would love to, if I can use this platform, you know, if there are women out there are listening and they don't know where to get, you know, information or opportunities, please just, if you're an artist, send us a email or with your portfolio, or just tell me you're an artist and you're female, because that is something I'm really looking at. Like, where can I find female artists that we can work with, in terms of upskilling them with business skills, because that's where I can do my part, you know. So drop me an email. When the time is ready, we will make contact with you guys and see how best we can get more women involved, we get more women in the forefront. So info@infinity.co.za or Roxanne@infinity.co.za, or go to our website. You'll see a number there, send me a WhatsApp, you know. Let's let the discussion start. I would really love to develop a database of just predominantly female artists.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for your generosity. And if anyone needs your details, we'll share with them after the session. Langelihle, for you, anything exciting coming up?
Well, I look forward to when it's safe again together, because I would really like to continue with my food experiences. There's nothing like a food residency in South Africa. So I would really love to continue my work into inviting families of different nationalities, just to like teach me, so that we can share those meals with other people. I look forward to like growing more food and discovering different ingredients that have never been tapped into. Yeah, and just like continuing to share. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Okay, we will be booking a seat at your table for sure. So we're definitely looking forward to that. If we can end with you, Dr. Leroux, and then I would just love to hand over to Her Royal Highness again, because there have been some more questions that have come through. Over to you.
I would like to see in future that the Unmute Disability Arts Festival grows into the real national arts festival and globally as well. The second factor is that not just a mentorship, but that women come, and I want to put myself like Roxanne out there and say, use the space of the theatres, train more women. I'm now putting myself out of a job, but it's important that young women from all backgrounds being trained the functions of being a CEO and driving a company like a theatre with all its facets. And that is my future. That keeps me awake every night. How I'm going to bring these wonderful young women together, that I be out of a job, that they can start and just running this country, but also for a female president. Thank you.
Yes.
I love that, Marlene. And thank you very much, Zanele. Let me also just first start by addressing the last question that you asked us right now. What is the future, or what is my ideal outlook for women in the arts in the future? For me, and I think being exposed to the very, very low statistics in terms of people that apply for funding, women in particular that actually apply for funding in the rural areas is a major concern. So I am happy when I hear your Marlene's and your Roxanne's and your Langelites and your Shamdas that are raising their hands to say, they would like to be able to assist more women, because let's then try and create these, I think, entities that are able to assist women in the rural areas, to be able to come and access the funding that is being given by, the likes of the NAC, BASA, etc. So for me, that is what I'm saying I would like the future to look like. And I know Marlene just now quickly ran through and just said unmute, but just so that I can be able to elaborate on who Unmute is for those that do not know. Unmute is a dance company that features only disabled individuals. And it is the most exquisite dance company I probably have ever actually experienced and seen in my entire life. And they are housed under the, I'm not sure, Marlene, whether they're still under Artscape, yes. But these are the companies. By the way, they are also run by a woman. So
yes, Nadine.
Yes, Nadine is the CEO of Unmute, and she's also the dancer herself. So for me, being able to see more Nadines and more Unmutes coming out of the industry, that's just particularly in dance, but seeing more disabled women coming out in the various arts disciplines is something that I really also would ideally want for us to be able to see in the future. And we need to be able to hold hands to make this possible. It's very, very possible, and it's very doable. But it's just joining hands, speaking with one voice. And I saw one of the questions, that came on the chat was, we need to have these conversations more, not just only on Women's Day. And that is so true. Why are we only limited to speaking in August? We've got 12 months in a year. So I really will be challenging actually our marketing department. I'm glad that they are listening in, Khonse and the team, to say they need to have more of these sessions so that we can then be able to get more of this information, I think, real time, and more of these intergenerational dialogues as well. But as a last point, I know earlier I'd spoken around the fact that we've got the call for funding, that we've issued out. I also want to add in that the NAC has now also included in its call for funding, we've issued out another call for funding bursaries. Previously, the NAC was funding bursaries only for international, students in postgraduate, fields. But we now have recently included international bursary funding for undergraduates as well, because we believe let's start you early in this journey of education. So please look out for that. I know a lot of people think, oh no, the NAC only funds for master's degrees and above. That has changed. We're now also accepting your undergraduates as well. And also look out for other funding opportunities. There's BASA, there's South African Cultural Observatory, there's the Department of Arts and Culture. That one just recently closed, but I'm hoping that they can have another call that's coming out very soon as well. But I'm saying to artists, follow the social media of these organizations, because that's where you'll be able to get the information. And more young people are on social media anyway, and read them, because we don't want a situation where a woman or a young person says, oh, I didn't know you guys had a funding call. Well, you didn't know because you didn't even follow these organizations to begin with. So I'm just saying, start small by doing these small little things, like follow these social media pages. You will get most of the information. And also, as just now a really last point, how can I say, accessing funding is really, really not that difficult. I don't know if any of you ladies have actually ever accessed or tried to access funding from a normal, funding institution, something like a bank. Now that's difficult. But accessing grant funding actually is very, very, very easy, and especially in the arts. And I think the introduction of these little amendments that we're making, such as removal of financial statements, even just makes it 10 times even more easier. So please, women, my sisters, aunts, mothers out there, apply. And then to all the organizations that are assisting rural women out there, get as many of our gogos in the crafts. We want to be able to fund them all. We know we've got limited funding, but we want to do the most with the little that we have. Thank you very much, Zanele.
Oh, thank you so much for those encouraging words. Yeah, I feel that the future feels and looks bright, and would like to say again, thank you so much for your time, to your Royal Highness Xilenhle, to Dr. Marlene Leroux, to Langelihle Tebu, Chamza Mahwebi, and Roxanne Konto. It has been such a pleasure. And I think I'd just love to read out a few keynotes that I took to end on a positive note. As was said, we will get a female mayor, we will get a female president. We need to focus on our strengths. We need to find business coaches. We need to continue to break those stereotypes, because we have been working incredibly hard. Let's not undermine all of our efforts. And let's find other ways beyond education, and look at networking and mentorship to really upskill ourselves. And yeah, there's actually so much more. Scheduling your priorities. I'm not sure if there's anything else anyone would like to note, but yeah, I have been incredibly proud to have been part of this conversation, and yeah, very happy to be ending on a positive note, and hope that the audience at home has also been jotting down all these opportunities that these wonderful women have shared with us today. Thank you to the NAC for hosting this incredible conversation. Thank you again to our panelists. Good afternoon and enjoy your evenings.
Thank you, Zanele. Thank you, Princess. Thank you, Shlanine. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you, Shama. Oh, this was fantastic.
Yes, I'm like, yay!
We need to sing a song.